Hello and welcome to part 2 of this garden project series. Thanks for joining me. And in today's video we're going to be carrying on with the patio build, in particular laying the slabs. So if you haven't seen part 1 you might want to watch that one first, and that's about building the sub base. But just to give you a brief summary, it's all in the preparation for the sub base. You've got to make sure you dig out a nice deep foundation between 100 to 200 mil. You may have to build some retaining walls, and you can do this out of brick or using some sleepers. Wooden stakes are hammered into the ground to give us a level for the MOT. Power cables run to the bottom of the garden, and that'll be for some patio lighting a little bit later on. And then 16 ton bags of MOT are compacted in layers using a whacker plate, and that's to make for a really stable, solid foundation to lay our patio slabs on. Before we begin laying the patio, I'm just going to connect up the outdoor socket. We ran the cable to the bottom of the garden in the previous video, and I'm just going to be connecting it up to a plug top inside the house. There was already an existing hole there from where we had run a cable previously down to the pond, but this time we're going to be doing it properly. So I start by installing an IP rated junction box on the outside of the house, and that way we've got somewhere we can terminate our SWA cable into. I run some 2.5mm flex through the wall using a steel wire to pull it through. I then whack a load of mastic on the back of the box and poke my cable through, then screw the box to the wall. With our junction box securely fastened to the wall, we can then terminate our armoured cable into the junction box. So for this you're going to need a gland kit, and don't forget to install your banjo and connect it to the CPC. That's a really important step because you want a low resistance path to earth in case there's any faults. Now if you don't feel confident doing this yourself, make sure you get the advice from a qualified electrician. I could only get hold of 3-phase cable for the outdoor run, so I had to use a bit of identification sleeving on the cores, so our grey now becomes blue and our black becomes a CPC. I use Wago connectors to connect the blues together, the browns together and the CPCs together, and then refit the cover. I then secure the cable to the wall at various points using some cable cleats and masonry fixings. And I use exactly the same method for installing the socket enclosure at the bottom of the garden, so I won't go into too much detail about that, as I'm pretty sure you're probably here to see me lay a patio. It's worth noting that with these socket enclosures you can use any type of socket you want, so if you want an RCD protected socket you can install one of those instead, which I'd highly recommend doing, especially for an outdoor socket. And I'll put links to everything you see in this video in the description below, and if you buy it through the links you'll also be supporting the channel, so thank you very much if you buy it through the links. I get a small kickback off of it and it just helps me fund other projects, for which I have many projects planned for this channel, so stay tuned. Don't forget to click the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. If you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you click the alarm bell you'll get notifications when I post new videos. So with the outdoor socket installed, let's crack on with laying the patio. We agreed on using these 600 by 900 sandstone slabs. They're in the Raj colour, and just check out the colours on this when they're wet. Oh my god, why am I getting excited over a patio slab? What am I doing with my life? Anyway, sandstone slabs require preparation before you can lay them because they are a porous stone. You have to put a slurry primer on the back of them. I'm using Pro Joint porcelain paving primer, and it's designed for porcelain and natural stone. It's essentially an adhesion promoter between the slab and the mortar bed to prevent the slabs from lifting. All you have to do is mix it with water, paste it on the back of the slabs and allow it to dry, and then you're ready to lay them. Now, quick disclaimer, this is only the second patio I've ever done, so I'm still learning, but hopefully you can learn with me from this video. So setting out is really important. It's making sure that you get a fall on your patio away from the property. This board here runs parallel with the house, and it's spaced away to a distance so that we can have the first slab in this corner. We've also got a string line running to the bottom of the garden, and that's to help keep the slab square with the property and sloped away from the property. We're aiming for a 1 in 80 fall, which means the patio drops 1 centimetre for every 80 centimetres along. For example, if this was an 8-metre patio, then it would have a fall of 10 centimetres from top to bottom. Now realistically that's not possible with this patio because it means you'd have to have a 100mm bed at one end down to nothing at the other end, and we're aiming for a 30 to 50mm mortar bed. So in hindsight, by making the MOT base sloped, I could have had an even mortar bed across the whole area, and that would have meant I wouldn't have to mix so much mortar. But there we go, we live and learn, and fortunately I won't be doing all the mixing. We're going to be using a 4:1 mix of sharp sand and cement, so that's 4 parts sharp sand to 1 part cement, and we're going to be using a cement mixer as well because that's going to make life much easier. I start by loading the cement mixer with a little bit of water, and then I add 4 shovels of sand. You got more on the bloody floor than you did in the mixer, come on Ollie. 2 shovels of cement. A splash more water, and then another 4 shovels of sand. For a stronger mix and for higher traffic areas, you could do a 3:1 mix, which would be 3 shovels of sand to 1 shovel of cement, but I think 4:1 is pretty standard. You can tilt the drum forward to help with the mixing. If it's too dry, it's likely to stick to the bottom of the drum. If it's too wet, then it's going to be a nightmare to work with. So it's about getting the consistency right. This mix looks a bit on the dry side, so I'm going to add a drop more water. Once I was happy with the consistency, then poured it into the wheelbarrow and took it round to where we were laying the slabs. To keep your cement mixer clean, just chuck a bucket of water in there before you take your mix round, and that way your cement shouldn't go hard inside the drum. Now I can assure you there won't be any dotting and dabbing here, we're going for a full mortar bed. Once the first slab had been laid, it was a case of repeating the same process over and over and over. The last patio I did I said would be the last one, but here we are, we're doing it again, and I remembered why I said that it would be the last one. Unfortunately, it was too late by this point. The hottest day of the year, and here we are laying patio slabs. A massive shout out to anybody who does this for a living full time. It's really backbreaking work, so I admire you for what you do. If you're planning on doing a project like this, get yourself a labourer to do the mixing up while you're laying the slabs, or vice versa. It makes a massive difference, and we managed to get this done in a couple of weekends with 2 people. Where we were laying on top of the existing slabs, I painted them with the slurry primer in the hope that it would help them stick a bit better. I use a 10-inch angle grinder for cutting the slabs, and that makes light work of it. You can use a smaller angle grinder, but it only just about makes it through the 22mm slabs, and it takes much longer. I spray water close to the blade to keep it cool and also to keep the dust down, and obviously I'm wearing a dust mask, ear defenders and safety-ish sunglasses. I measure and cut all the slabs around the edge and then just lay them in position to make sure they fit. Once I'm happy with the fitment, I then bed them down. It gets a little bit messy at the edges because unless you've got the exact amount of mortar underneath your slab, you're going to get squeeze out on all 4 sides. It's just a case of scraping it out of the groove so you've got space for your grout to go in there, and keeping it nice and clean, so just wiping it off with a clean sponge. clamped a gravel board to the edge of the patio to give us a straight edge to cut against, and then used a 10-inch angle grinder just to take off the edge. So there we have it. This is what the patio looks like currently, and I'll be sealing it and grouting it in the next video, so stay tuned for that installment. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and if you click that alarm bell, you'll get notifications when I post new videos. And hopefully I'll see you next time. Cheers guys, bye for now.